Come in.
I have a case for you. It looks like arson.
Here's the thing most people don't understand. When you hear the word arson, you probably imagine someone who simply likes fire. Someone reckless. Someone destructive. But investigators have learned something far more disturbing. For many serial fire setters, the fire isn't the reward. The feeling is. I'm Detective Cypher from the Classified Mind, and today we're investigating the most disturbing case of all, the human mind itself. Case file number 1, the first spark. Let's start at the beginning, because arson rarely starts with a burning building. It often starts with a child. Psychologists have long studied something known as the McDonald triad. Now, it's not a perfect predictor of criminal behavior. In fact, its scientific validity has been heavily debated, and many researchers consider it largely debunked. But it has appeared often enough to get investigators' attention. The 3 warning signs are persistent bedwetting, animal cruelty, and repeated fire-setting behavior. What connects these 3 things? Control. Many future offenders grow up feeling powerless. Maybe there's neglect, abuse, chaos at home. A child can't control the adults around them, but they can control a match. At first it's curiosity, a small piece of paper, a stick, a pile of leaves. Then something happens. The child realizes that a tiny flame can completely change their environment. And for someone who feels powerless, that's a powerful discovery. The evidence shows that many arsonists don't start by wanting to destroy. They start by wanting to control. The case becomes even darker, because eventually the fire starts controlling them. Case file number 2, the addiction to ignition. Let's examine the next clue. Imagine holding a match. You strike it. The sulfur ignites. There's a sudden flash, a distinct smell, a crackling sound. For most people, that's nothing special. For some arsonists, it's intoxicating. Researchers have found that anticipation itself can trigger powerful dopamine releases. That's the same reward chemical involved in gambling addictions, drug addictions, and thrill-seeking behavior. The strange part, the biggest rush often happens before the fire. Not during it, before. The planning, anticipation, the countdown is similar to the excitement a gambler feels before the roulette wheel stops, or the rush someone feels before opening a winning lottery ticket. Then the fire begins, and many offenders describe something unexpected. Calm, almost trance-like calm. The anxiety disappears, the tension vanishes. For a brief moment, everything feels right. And that's where the cycle becomes dangerous. Because once someone discovers a shortcut to relief, the brain starts wanting more. Before we open the next case file, don't let this investigation go cold. Subscribe and ring the evidence bell. Now let's return to the evidence. Case file number 3, the God Complex. Now we arrive at one of the most disturbing clues in the entire case file. Power. Think about what fire can do. A single person can alter an entire city block, a business, a home, a landmark, all with one decision. Some arsonists begin viewing themselves as creators rather than destroyers. It sounds irrational, but to them, they aren't just burning something down. They're creating an event, creating chaos, creating a story, and then they get to watch everyone react. Police, firefighters, news crews, neighbors, everyone rushing toward a situation they alone created. For some offenders, that's an incredible feeling. It's not just the fire. It's the influence. The ability to move entire groups of people with a single spark. That's why many serial arsonists become increasingly organized. The fires stop being random. They become signatures, patterns, messages, each one carefully planned, each one designed to create a specific reaction. Case file number 4, the power paradox of ash. Now here's a question. Why do some arsonists return to the scene? Why stand there watching? Why insert themselves into the investigation? The answer reveals another psychological reward. Validation. Investigators have documented what are often called hero arsonists. These individuals start fires, then help report them, or even assist in rescue efforts. Imagine being the person who secretly caused the chaos, then being praised for helping solve it. That's a powerful form of reinforcement. But even beyond recognition, there's another motive. Ash. To most of us, ash represents loss. To some offenders, It represents total control. The building existed, then it didn't, and they decided exactly when that happened. For someone obsessed with power, that's an incredibly dangerous feeling, because no matter how large the structure, the fire obeyed them. At least that's what they believe. Case file number 5. Modern profiling and the digital trail. But here's where the story changes, because modern investigators have become very good at catching fire setters. Thermal imaging can identify ignition points with remarkable precision. Chemical analysis can detect microscopic traces of accelerants. Investigators can often reconstruct how a fire started long after the flames are gone. And then there's the digital trail. Search histories, location data, online activity, behavioral patterns. Today's investigators don't just study the fire. They study the person. Many offenders leave clues long before they strike. Obsession with fire footage, research into accelerants, repeated visits to previous fire scenes. Patterns begin emerging, and those patterns can be surprisingly difficult to hide. As we close today's case, one fact stands above all others. The perfect fire doesn't exist, because the compulsion never ends. The thrill fades, the excitement weakens, the offender seeks a bigger fire, a bigger reaction, a bigger feeling, and eventually the obsession begins consuming everything. Relationships, careers, freedom, sometimes their entire future. The fire that once felt like control becomes a prison. When we put all the evidence together, the pattern becomes clear. Childhood trauma creates the spark. Dopamine fuels the behavior. Power reinforces it. Validation strengthens it. And obsession keeps it alive. The fire was never just about destruction. It was about control, influence, and a mind desperately trying to fill something that could never be burned away. The file is closed, but the investigation never ends. Until next time, keep your eyes on the evidence and your mind on the motive. Detective Cypher signing off.